You have to point it at it?
Somebody told me it was in the paper, which is, I figured it had come from communications.
Okay.
but,
It is 6 o'clock. I will now call to order the December 14th, 2015 meeting of the East Hampton Conservation Commissions. Are there any public concerns, non-agenda items? All right, being none, we'll move on to the continuation of the public hearing for the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation to confirm wetland boundaries filed by Williston Northampton School for the property located at 198 Park Street. The Commission performed a site visit November 21st. We continued the hearing as their public abutter notifications had not been distributed prior to the previous hearing. Are there any public members of the audience here regarding this filing?
There's no butter, yeah.
Just as a butter? Okay. Do you want to recap or do you want me to?
You can, that's fine.
All right. Williston hired.
That's just for the records, or just your name is?
Jeff Tannett.
Thank you, yeah, I knew that, but I forgot.
All right. This is regarding the former Lively property on the north side of the access road to White Brook Middle School. Williston hired Heritage Surveys and Dan Nitchie of GZA to survey the property and delineate resource areas, wetland resource areas. The filing to the Commission was with regard to areas subject to protection under the Wetlands Protection Act. So that defines bordering vegetated wetlands, inland banks, streams, ponds, riverfront area. What doesn't get included in that are isolated vegetated wetlands. The Commission does not have any jurisdiction over isolated vegetated wetlands. The site plan was submitted to the Commission dated November 3rd, and it identifies areas of bordering vegetated wetland as well as isolated vegetated wetlands. During the November 21st site visit, attended by the Commission, Mark Reed, Jeff Tannett, and Dan Nitchie, who did perform the delineation, the Commission reviewed the boundaries as they were flagged in the field. We also looked at vegetation and soil profile between the isolated areas and the bordering vegetated wetlands to determine whether or not there was evidence of a connection based on hydrology, indicators of hydrology and soils between the apparently isolated areas and the bordering areas. We determined that the soils were not indicative of wetland characteristics. They were very upland soils, very bright, no glaying, no redoxomorphic features, no evidence of a high groundwater table that would influence the vegetation. The vegetation was also upland in nature. So with that, the Commission reconvened to discuss our observations at our last meeting, determined that abutters needed to be notified, which is why you received the abutter notifications, and continued it to this evening. Are there any questions? Would you like to see a site plan? Would you like to see the site plan?
I believe I have one.
Okay.
Unless it's different than what was mailed.
I don't know. I know that I received the proof of notification. I didn't see what was sent to people. So does this look like what we saw?
That's one page. The first page was very specific. Also showed the plans for a track field. And the other
That's a
That's,
different.
that's another.
Right.
Oh, you must be an
Yeah.
abutter to both?
I'm gonna butter to the property
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
there's a
the-
directly.
wetland piece to that
To the trail
triggers.
system.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, with notification
Mhm.
probably went out for the other
The notice of
side,
Both at the
intent.
same time?
So that is unrelated to the.
for the cross country,
Yeah.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So
Yes.
that was attached to the cross-country.
We took
Okay.
that maybe.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
so
Okay.
that's
that.
different.
Okay.
Different
Yeah.
things you do.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
So-
different than,
On this property.
All right,
Right.
as long as I
yes, from
understand.
this, yeah.
So this is, no work is proposed at this under this filing, it's just the confirmation of boundaries.
Okay.
And so with that, if there are no questions, discussion from the Commission,
And so this will be, the field, the cross-country thing will be on our agenda for a future meeting, right?
I
Yeah,
believe that's gonna be
yeah,
filed with
the
us tonight
submission-
for our
yeah,
next meeting.
Next meeting, okay.
Actually, for January, I thought it was a January.
Oh, they asked for
Correct.
January 11th.
Okay.
Yes.
11th? 14th?
Whatever that,
4th is the first, 11th is the second.
excellent.
My brain.
And we haven't received anything for the actual project that's proposed.
No.
Correct, nothing yet.
This time we
No,
don't
just
have any
because of the
comment.
time of year, we
Okay.
wanted to get
Mhm.
the boundaries decided on.
Okay. So, I guess if there's no further discussion,
The wetlands were delineated correctly for us. I don't see any field.
the only thing I will mention is that the commission can only approve boundaries within the subject parcel, and we can only approve boundaries subject to the Wetlands Protection Act. So, we cannot make a motion to approve all the flags on this plan. But we can pull out the ones that are within within our jurisdiction and within the subject parcel. So, if anyone would care to make a motion.
So like these ones we can't.
Right, that's
but
what I'm
these
assuming,
ones we
right,
can.
that's correct.
Or if anyone would
To
like to see the
approve,
five.
can I just get what the
drafted.
motion might be? A motion is made to approve the wetlands that are in the commission's jurisdiction?
Mhm.
Yes, sorry. Typing and looking.
Can I just ask a question too?
Yeah.
Is the next step then that there'll be a proposal for putting the solar panels on, and then will that come before us, or this is just like the piece that? I'm just
No, this is only to define the resource area boundaries and the associated buffer zone subject to our jurisdiction. This is, so if there's any work within
Right.
those areas, that would then have to come back as a future filing.
So the B series, D series, and F series flagging is what we're approving.
Flags within
Flags,
is what falls within the subject parcel.
the flags, yeah.
E, the C are isolated.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and they're not in our jurisdiction, right? They're
Right.
isolated.
The isolated areas, we don't have jurisdiction over,
Okay.
Okay,
because that's the way the act is written.
you good, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so I'll move to issue an order of resource area delineation for the flags on the subject parcel, A series flags A1 through A8, C series flags C1 through C8. No.
No.
These three.
Can you revise your?
Alright,
An area of resource delineation?
I will revise that. Okay, so,
That'd be helpful.
Could we just approve the wetlands delineation on the parcel?
No,
It needs
because
to be
it's,
more specific.
right, because we can't
Because
approve.
other wetlands have been delineated.
gotcha.
Oh.
Okay,
Yeah, we can approve B, D, and F, but not A, C, and E because they're isolated.
so now that I've been pointed to the right flags and that there's really, these ones that are jumping out of the page at me, I will amend that motion, the partially moved motion, to instead reference flags B6 through B9 and flag B15, flags D1 through D12, and the F series flags F1, F7, and F8.
Second.
All right.
Mm-hmm. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
All those opposed?
Yeah.
So moved. Okay. Can we start?
Thanks.
Thank you. Sorry.
It's getting warm here. Is it just
It's just you. So, the signature page is ready. If you can find it and just try to keep them in order.
Does this go at the back?
Yeah.
I want to just take a look at that cover letter so I can get those flags. Good meeting minutes.
I
Do you want this one?
Yes, I'd like that one, please. Thanks.
Do you mind having a quick copy, Jess?
Your eyes are like watching them shuffle the papers.
At least it's only like 5 pages. I can do it.
They are numbered.
They are.
I'll put them back in ours.
Steve.
These were some notes. The ones we did, they were dated.
They weren't
copies you need?
2, please.
Oh, yeah,
I think you responded to
because I
something else.
responded to something else.
15.
I'm excellent at confusing.
We're hand delivering this to you tonight, are we
the
not?
details of-
We're giving this to you tonight?
Sure, if
Okay.
I
that's,
don't know, I think it's your pen.
Yep.
Something tells me.
if that's simple, if that's a
That's
process, I can
easier.
wait and pick it up tomorrow.
Nope, there's no reason.
Wait 2
You wanna be
seconds.
done.
Yeah, right.
Few minutes.
Yeah.
Or 3.
She's gotta rearrange the pages.
Yeah, I got mixed up with that too, but I guess that
We'll
filing is
just
just
take
gonna.
a quick moment. So I guess if you want to
Yeah.
hand deliver now, be
Yes,
fine.
it will be these checks.
Excellent, we'll give those to Jess.
There.
You can keep your envelope.
It's a notice of, what is this?
This is a notice of intent
This is the one that just happened.
for the new cross-country course, Galbraith Field, Taft Avenue, East Hampton, Massachusetts, which Mark Reed, thank you, requested we include on our, let's see, let's do January 11th, 2016 meeting agenda.
Right, yes,
Great.
yep, and that works
That
better
works.
for you, right, or works well for you? That's
It's just fine. It's
Okay.
just fine, and you have a file number by them for sure, so. This is, we also did a site visit for this after the November 21st.
Yep.
Does Jeff get the original?
Jeff gets the original.
Yeah.
We
One
enter
for,
one for us, one for DEP. Okay.
Did we get all that electronically?
We, I
That
believe we
came today,
did, and I
yeah.
forwarded it
We
along.
got plans, I don't believe we got,
There was another,
I
we'll double
remember-
check.
there wasn't, I thought, I just read, saw
I
plans,
remember
but
2 attachments, but it could be
Okay.
that I just didn't
I only looked at one.
look for
Yeah.
them all.
Okay.
So-
If you didn't get that, I can certainly get it forwarded to you, but.
Okay, I'll check.
Johnston.
Those are those or
Uh, The drawings are, well, yeah, well,
They're from
Bill and Mark, yeah,
Great. So we've got that for
yeah, those are
the
the
new
full
year.
project drawings.
This will be on the January 11th meeting.
Yes.
This hearing, okay?
Bless you. Okay. All set.
Okay, very
Great.
good,
Thanks
thank
a
you
lot,
very
Jeff.
much.
Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
We'll see you on the 11th.
Yes, have a good holiday.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Thank you. All right, we have no requests for certificates of compliance, emergency certifications, no updates on the current enforcement order. Are there,
You were gonna send me Bernie's contact stuff, I didn't bug you.
And I
That's
didn't. You
fine,
should have bugged
but
me about it.
yes, you're doing things.
thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a note again. Okay, sorry about that, Jay. All right, Mount Thomas Estates, CEP file number 151248. Any further updates? No. Paul Street Extension, Jillian Estates, DP file number 151269. We received a weekly report,
We did,
or bi-weekly report.
let's see what we received. I
I
don't
think
recall.
we changed the timing due to inactivity
We have Pascomic Trust, we don't have anything
for
from
Jillian.
them for Jillian
Okay.
Estates
We
right now.
did receive, on December 9th, a request for certificate of compliance for not 26 Paul Street.
26 was the building.
26 was a building permit, and that's out of buffer zone, or that's outside buffer zone.
I got it right here.
25,
That's 25 Paul
25,
Street.
yeah.
So we received a request for certificate of compliance on December 9th. It'll be on the December 28th meeting agenda. Pleasant Street Mills, DEP file number 151273.
Went
Any
there and looked at,
updates?
the site, and they've done the things that they described,
Oh,
the blankets and things like that in different areas. And There did not look like any further erosion in any location, so.
Oh, great.
And where it said they were gonna remove the fence, I didn't see them removing some of those areas they said where they were gonna remove it, but
Okay.
it's working, so.
As long as it's not causing the problem that they were concerned it was causing, it's fine.
So there's mats down, is that what I heard? I was
Like
finishing
very
Paul's.
close, but I remember thinking,
They've
Like
done
it's,
It
big,
looks
big
like they
mats in a
pushed it
couple,
down in places where somebody else
couple
pushed it down.
areas.
Yeah, those slopes that have a lot of the washouts,
Where that
Okay.
little park area is.
yep.
the stormwater, those are stormwater basins.
And the wall is starting to.
Yeah.
The new wall is gonna be built.
Okay.
But so the wattle, the compost filter socket's still there?
Yes, yeah.
Yep. Jessica, do you know if plans changed on that, or they just not got around to it yet?
for what, sorry?
The compost filter tube along the edge of the bike path that they wanted to take out.
It's still there, it's
It's
kinda
probably
broken
still
down.
there, yeah, we've been trying to deal with some other issues at this point, they really were pushing to get the paving down, so,
Yeah.
I'll remind them again at the weekly construction meeting and, this week and
Okay.
see where they're at on that.
Sounds good.
I would just recommend tomorrow taking a little walk out somewhere, I don't know, maybe even Jessica, if you want to take a little walk.
Sure.
There's gonna be a pretty heavy storm, I think, tonight, I
Okay.
believe. But maybe just to make sure that all that erosion control stayed
Sure.
in place. There may not be a storm, but I heard there was gonna be a pretty big
And,
storm.
and if we get more than a quarter inch of rain,
It's going.
then they need their.
No, he's really good about it, yeah.
Great.
Jay, do you wanna walk out there
Sure,
tomorrow? All right,
yeah.
just shoot me an email what time you wanna meet up, I think I'm fairly free.
Nashwauk Mills, 15 Cottage Street, DEP file number 151265. Is there any activity over there? They still
Sounds to
had-
me that they should be filing a certificate of compliance.
I don't see any activity.
I thought they were
It's-
supposed to do some rain garden work, both in the Cottage Street side and the rear of the building.
They planted some trees and then I haven't seen anything beyond that.
Can you shoot me an email of what you're expecting to still be completed on that project, and then I can communicate with the developers?
Where,
Back at previous
where did you see
minutes and
trees
if I can
going?
find-
Like in the rain garden area, that long narrow place between the parking areas. I mean, this is a while ago. This is nothing in the past
Yeah.
4 weeks. This is 8 weeks ago.
Wasn't there rain garden on the Cottage Street side of the building too?
Yeah.
Yes, there
They
And
is.
added
that's-
that in.
They added that in, but did they construct
I
that?
didn't see
And
it.
that's
Is
part of,
that being held up because they're waiting to put the pedestrian bridge in? They're just started to put the
Just-
footings in for the pedestrian bridge, so if they're waiting to do the rain garden after
Until
the
after that's
pedestrian
done.
bridge is in, that could be a possibility of why it's been held up.
Yeah.
so we'll confirm that, but it would be good to understand their sequence, since it's been
Sure.
quiet for so long.
Shoot me an email of exactly what you're looking for, and I'll get it to them.
It says on July 1st, Jay met with Rich Relic,
That's correct.
and they anticipate requesting starting compliance upon a completion of exterior work, i.e. rain gardens and other plantings.
But they've done some plantings, but the rain gardens, I don't believe are complete.
We'll find out.
Okay. All right, any updates on the Oxbow? City of East Hampton, Town Beach, Nashwauk Pond, Fisherman Access Facility, DEP file number 151282.
It's stable, grass is actually growing.
Well, there you go.
That growing season.
I think there was a question about concrete debris and things like
It's still
that.
there, there's a couple pieces left by the ramp.
Yep.
Get rid of it.
It's small, that you can pick it up by hand, so.
Let's do it. Should we do it?
Does that fall under
Toilet.
Office of Fishing and Boating Access, or is that Park and Rec?
What is it? Picking up some
Concrete
concrete.
debris, chunkcrete, yes,
Chunks
chunks
of
of concrete.
I will, maybe after my stop down the mills, I'll go pick it up. that's what needs to happen. I mean,
It could be like
it
a
doesn't
nice
seem too
addition to your-
complicated, right?
I'll
No.
take care of it.
RJ will take it. Just don't throw it in a wetland.
I'm just gonna throw it straight back into the pond.
Exactly.
deeper
Maybe it'll
in.
skip across the top.
It'll be its own little reef.
It won't skip across the
It will. Lathrop is on hold until further notice.
Did you happen to see the nice piece about Barbara? It was in the life section of the Gazette, you know how they do the feature of people every
ID
Friday?
profile or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, there was a whole profile on her and
Oh,
all of the
nice.
work
Oh,
she's
very
doing
nice.
for the invasive species, and
Cool.
it was
She's a
sweet.
nice lady.
You should check it out.
Very nice. I'll look that up. Okay. Pascomet Conservation Trust, Meadow Field between 405 and 417 East Street, parking and accessible trails, DEP file number 151284.
They've got the
The
trail pretty
trail's
much
pretty
complete
much
across the.
the open field.
The open field and the area where the stream goes under the
Okay.
crossing. And
They
they've also
actually-
opened up the
actually
parking
moved
area.
Yeah, I noticed,
Really?
So they've
I
removed
noticed that
topsoil and piled some of that.
from the Mutter Field side
Right.
on Saturday.
So the trail.
They have silt fence blocking access
Right.
on the trail to use that crossing,
Mhm.
but the rest of the field is,
So the parking area is in place as well?
they're grading.
You're grading, okay.
They've got the ground open, they're grading that, so
You
they
just
should
sent it today, I
be
probably should look at it.
continuing with weekly reports since the site's open.
Right.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, they provided the weekly report today. I just haven't had a chance to look at it. They're doing a good job.
They're also
So
building
bad.
little
What's that?
So down
picnic,
the way.
So bad.
picnic kiosks.
It says something about a shelter.
There you
Yeah,
go,
the shelters,
shelter,
so you
that's,
can-
Shelter is being built.
Not be in the rain.
that's on the, Green Street, East Green
East
Street
Green
end
side,
of the,
yes.
of Mutter Field. Couldn't tell if it was in the buffer zone of that other stream that they improved the crossing on.
Wow.
It's at that end, it's just hard to gauge.
Yeah.
Does it show on any plan?
I don't remember if it was silt fence back to that area or not.
I don't think there was silt fence.
I don't
It's,
think
you know,
it
it's
had to be.
high enough up in the field that, and the work they're doing isn't really,
It's actually within the 100-foot buffer, that particular one
Okay.
is just in, so.
okay. Yeah, the site's stable and
Yep, stable.
good housekeeping in
Mhm.
place. And it looks like train tracks.
That one's over here. That was a shed there.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay.
Did we, okay, go ahead.
Did we what?
Skip over 7B? No, we actually didn't.
No, we didn't.
Okay.
Okay. I guess before we move on, there was an email about a request for certificate of compliance, but it wasn't submitted in time to be on this agenda, so it's on our December 28th agenda.
I'm not sure why, cause I have the stamp, the date, time and date stamp, which is Thursday at 12:03 PM.
The submittal deadline was 2 weeks ago. For filings to be included on the agenda, the submittal deadline is 2 weeks in advance.
It's not, all meetings and notices must be filed and timestamped
That-
in the city clerk's office no later than 3 PM
That's
on
the,
the Thursday prior to the
that's
meeting.
when we have to provide the agenda.
To the
To
public.
prepare the agenda, I need things in advance.
There's a schedule that is on the website as well, Conservation Commission schedule for 2015, and it says a meeting date, and then there's a submittal date column right after it. So we do the same thing with the planning board. If you want to be on a certain agenda date, there's a certain date you have to file paperwork by so that there's adequate time for everybody to be able to look at it and to, you know, if there's legal notice requirements for something, then that accommodates
Okay.
for that time as well.
I thought that was the timestamp.
Oh, okay.
No.
No,
So that's why I
um,
was confused, cause he's
Mhm.
trying to get a CO
Un-
for her so
unders-
she can close and
understood.
all that.
Maybe Mark just didn't remember? or not know.
I don't know. I noticed it today and that's when I replied to all that, but I draft the agenda in
But
advance.
since it's on now, it'll be on for the 28th?
Correct,
Okay.
correct,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
All right.
Guys,
Thank you.
excuse us.
No worries. Let's go. Good night.
Thanks, Nick.
Good night. Okay. General business, okay, that explains that. I know I've got Rich and I didn't know where you were
I'm easy.
being
It
so
doesn't take too much
patient. So,
time. I'm Dave Loman. I live in West Hampton, I have an excavating business, and I'm in
Just spell your name for the meeting, Mr. Sorry.
Loven, Loven.
Gotcha.
Dave.
It's right on your
That's right, Dave, maybe.
That's so I
Wicked
forget,
smart.
you know, we all have our days.
Wicked's not.
Wicked smart. Okay, good.
So Mark Reed's doing my plans too for this piece, partial, a commercial property off of O'Neill Street. And I just, I know that I'm not on the agenda or anything official, but
Non-agenda, that's okay.
because, I'm, like I said, I'll be quick.
Oh, it just came up.
This, Mark, I'm not sure why, I thought he was gonna be coming to this meeting, but actually he's away right now, so I asked him, do you want me to go to the meeting for anything? He said, yeah, you can go out and give these plans, because, by the time we get everything in order and put it before the board with his, whatever else, little changes he's gonna make, it'll be probably January's meeting, perhaps, and we might have snow on the ground, and I didn't know if you folks would be able to take a walk where there's no snow on the ground in this partial, just so that you, and I can leave these plans with you, so that it'll be something that I might be able to do something with before the snow melts.
What's this for?
This is, property off of O'Neill Street, not just up opposite
Across from
Industrial
Industrial.
Parkway.
Right, this is where Quicksilver, Tom and Dave Boyle just bought that little shop right there. And the new East Hampton Savings Bank is across the street
Yeah,
over here.
okay.
And the charter school is right at the corner.
So the title of this is just, for the minutes, is just potential project storage building or something?
Do we
or-
wanna do a site visit?
I think this is, do we wanna do a site visit for
Why we
potential,
can.
for,
Yep.
before snow falls?
Okay, so I'm just gonna say for the minutes, spoken on behalf of potential project on O'Neill Street.
Is there a street address for that parcel, other than O'Neill Street, or is there some sort of property reference?
It might not have a property address yet, cause there's
Because
no
it
building
doesn't
there.
have a building.
O'Neill Street opposite Industrial Parkway.
It says partial number 1.
Yeah,
But that might be
that's
just
not
for-
the assessor's number
No.
though.
The city engineer is the one who assigns the road numbers, and he's not gonna assign one unless there's an actual building there, so.
Yeah, that's fine. It could just do map and parcel or something, but that's fine, we can do that later.
I can look that up.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
Um,
so, schedules, if we wanna think about a site visit.
Mark said just any time. I mean, he's away for these 3 days, so.
He's back by the weekend.
I believe so, yes.
Saturday morning is actually out for me
Okay.
and you. It's a kid's party.
Oh, I see, you don't invite us to that, huh?
Are you a kid? Technically,
I'm often told
you're
that.
immature, but juvenile.
Kid that loves to drink.
How about,
Oh, boy.
how about Saturday afternoon, or 8
I,
o'clock Saturday morning? Or you guys could go, you could look at this just as well as I can.
Saturday afternoon's better.
yeah, Saturday afternoon, I have a
Well,
party
then.
at 4, but I could go
Okay.
before then.
I can do Saturday early afternoon.
Yeah, like 1 or 2, but that's,
Okay.
Like when's?
Do you think that you'll do a site visit with the planning board when he comes before the planning board?
Whatever Mark tells me to do.
Okay. Cause I'd like to get out there and see it, but I will be out of town on Saturday.
Okay.
But we can do our own thing with the planning board when we
Yeah,
get to that
yeah.
point.
Alright, so one of the reasons this
what
is a
about the following
particular,
weekend, or is that Christmas weekend?
that's Christmas
It's the
weekend.
day before or after Christmas?
That's the
Yes,
day
day after Christmas is.
I guess I'd rather do it sooner than later before, if the weather's gonna
Also
turn,
snow.
it's looking like it's not gonna be,
It will someday, right?
I have bulbs sprouting,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, my neighbors.
not so sure.
My neighbors
This is a good
sprouted.
thing.
So,
Could the majority do Saturday afternoon at like 1 or 2?
grudgingly, yes.
Yes.
One's good.
One's better?
One is better.
You can do 1? Okay, we'll do Saturday the 19th at 1 PM and we'll meet, there's no parking there, is there?
We could meet and park in the Tom and Dave's office buildings right across the O'Neill Street from the savings, the new bank, right across the O'Neill Street there. That was those corner buildings. I forget the numbers on them.
Can we just park on Industrial Parkway
Yeah.
and walk across the street?
Yeah, we
Or
could
is
do
that,
that.
is that more
Sure.
treacherous?
You can
No,
park in
either
front of
way.
A to Z storage on that side.
Okay.
There's no
Oh.
parking on the other side in front of the
I
school,
just
but on the
saw
A to
a
Z
thing
storage.
about that.
Yes. There's no parking on the school side, but
Side.
the A to Z side is, okay.
What time did we say, 1?
December 17th at 1,
19th.
19th, thank you.
It's kind of deceiving from the street, because when they first told me about it, I know what it looks like from the street, but once you go up in there, it is pretty nice, and there's uplands and quite a bit of upland. Chuck Douchy did the wetland delineation.
When did he do that?
Oh, God, between May and June, I think, perhaps. He wanted to make sure there was vegetation on the trees. He had to wait for that.
Mark is used to hearing this from me, but when you file, if you file and there are wetland impacts, we need data on the wetland impacts themselves.
Mhm.
Okay, all right, that's in the calendar.
Okay.
So, thank you for the site plans, we'll see you,
Nice to meet you.
nice meeting you too,
Nice to
sorry.
meet you
It's been a heck of a day.
Yeah, I bet. I'll let you guys know.
Thank you so much
All
for
right.
coming in and bringing
Yeah.
the plans.
Have a good night.
You
Night.
too.
Bye-bye. Oh, you want my cell phone number or anything?
Yes.
Well,
That way, if anything changes.
um,
Sorry, that was really emphatic and it sounded creepy, but I just
Yeah.
contact you
That's
if
okay.
we 413?
695
I thought you'd never ask.
7304.
Thank you. That way, if we're running late or
You want my email?
sure.
Yes.
I give up. You zip it. Yes, please.
LOVEN.
I think you should do more now, just because we're gonna lose it soon.
Yeah, it's true.
At
We're gonna miss it.
gmail.com.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great.
Appreciate
Take
your
care.
time.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
That's back number.
Did you? Yep. All right. Let's just jump straight to this non-agenda topic that just came up. Hi, Rich.
Hi,
Have you signed in?
I did.
Thanp you.
I have a Borikowski property on it.
Even better.
So somebody's decided to harvest firewood from there.
Is that what it is? Just harvesting firewood, okay?
And
Or
they're,
down, does it
Down.
appear to be down material?
down hardwood,
But they're not cutting any?
blowdowns.
They're, okay.
Okay.
Is it like a big operation?
No,
or is it-
it's somebody goes in with an ATV and they're cutting big chunks and dragging them out.
Mhm.
So the dragging out part is messing the road up big time.
Trees.
And it's,
Trail, messing the trail up.
Yeah, I refer to the roads
Yes,
as that
yeah,
old
yeah.
existing
Okay,
kind of
okay.
double track, and then the trails are more of the single track, but the damage is impressive.
Are they coming down and over the wooden bridge and then over to Hendrick Street?
No, it's down the street a bit. It's
to the, what direction down the street? What is the?
towards 141.
Okay.
Do the drag lines go to any
They
particular
go
house?
directly to his house, so
Okay.
Oh,
it's pretty easy to figure out.
Hey, okay.
And
Well, that's
it's a big
nugget of information.
it's a big rut, and yeah,
So did you physically see somebody doing this?
I did not.
No.
No,
Reports from somebody else?
no, I
Just out there looking at
Saw
the
the
property.
results.
Just saw the results of
Yeah.
it, okay,
yeah.
alright.
So this is conservation land, open space, protected. So any activities on the property, it's my understanding, are subject to the commission's authority, not under the Wetlands Protection Act necessarily, just as stewards of the land, the managers of the land,
And the CR.
and the conservation restriction. So, if we haven't approved something, then, it shouldn't be happening.
If I had a camera, I would have taken pictures and had them for you, but
And this parcel's an abutting parcel to the property, right?
yes,
Is it actually directly abutting, or is it just nearby?
it's directly.
Okay.
So I'd love to show somebody, or take pictures.
And take pictures. You did a little digging about EP contacts, environmental police contacts.
Yeah, I have a lot of contacts with Mass Wildlife, and they do a lot of land stewardship. And what they would do in this situation would be to, they would talk to local police and have them, put put it on their rounds to see if they see things going on, but then also contact the environmental police, especially in this case because there's endangered species habitat.
So, and if it's not happening.
Can I just get that again? You spoke to who exactly? Or not the person, but the group organization?
A land manager with Mass Wildlife.
Manager with Mass Wildlife.
Yeah. Not in this district. I don't have any contacts in this district, but.
Okay. Okay, so they said that you would, that they would contact local police.
No,
Yeah.
we should.
That we should.
That the first step should be to contact local police.
Right, the first step is to contact local police.
Which we did.
Which
And
we've
then-
done. Jessica did on our behalf.
Thank you.
And
But they didn't come back with a positive response.
we got two
So I
different
got two different
responses.
responses. I got one from
Okay.
the chief, which I forwarded to everybody, which said that this was not a police matter and would direct us to the city attorney for matters regarding city liability, because I had mentioned that we had been having conversations about trail cleanup and concerns about people going out there with chainsaws and liability of that. And then I heard from Captain Alberti, who said he wasn't able to attend tonight, but he can send somebody out to look at the property with whomever is concerned and see what can be done as it's city property. So I don't know if we wanna try to schedule time for maybe you and
Sure.
me and
I'll go
Jay
with you.
to go out, maybe this week, or tomorrow's gonna be wet, I'm guessing, so
Yeah.
maybe Wednesday?
Yeah, anytime.
Sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I don't know if, I mean, we could do it tomorrow maybe, I just don't know what the weather is
I
gonna
think
be
there's a
like.
possibility of rain in the morning, but.
But maybe by
showers
afternoon
put
it will
by
dry out a little bit. Are you flexible schedule or you
Yeah,
got some?
working local, so I can,
Okay.
Does this happen to be a party who was using ATVs on that property
yeah,
previously?
you know,
We
I
asked
hate
them
to be
not
the trail police, cause they know who I am and
Yeah.
I know who they are.
Yeah, and I think our former chair had talked to them about
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah,
It's the same family.
yeah.
My concern is the damage to the property, the damage in rare species
It's-
habitat.
It's like 10 years of erosion waiting to happen in 10 minutes. I mean, the damage is, it's all this dirt disrupted and roots are snapped off, and all the stuff that's holding the road together. It's just,
You said a road, is there an actual paved road you're talking about?
no, it's
No.
just,
Like a
lumber
Garage road?
yeah, there was some
Garage
existing
road.
roads built in there years ago, as access roads, I should say.
Okay.
They're steep, not
Let me
really.
go grab my calendar and see.
Not,
This,
not near,
this
not
area
really
is
actually.
Tomorrow.
super steep,
Yeah,
but they've cut in two different areas too, and I don't think there's been a
Currently
lot
or
of cutting.
recent-
Yeah,
or-
real current, yeah, last couple weeks. So I don't know if they're gonna continue to do it, but,
yeah. And it's a long haul too, coming down from where the blowdown is to the bottom.
they're just going to the edge of it, and it's not that far, but
Oh, okay.
Just things that come to mind. One
there's a
was
stream at the bottom of this,
Mhm.
and there's just loose dirt just waiting to go down, and just, the whole thing is just,
And because this isn't their property, because it's city property, the exemption for cutting firewood on your own land up to, what, 10,000 cords?
I am-
At board feet, 10,000 board feet. That would be a lot. Clearly, I'm a lumberjack.
It just has to be added by
So
force.
the
Well, if I
the
trust
exemption.
the weather, it doesn't say.
There's no
rain
forest
anymore.
cutting plan, obviously,
Yeah.
and it doesn't meet the
It's, it's
criteria
done
to
by 4
qualify
a.m.
as
Oh.
exempt,
So-
under agricultural for firewood for personal
Sun's out at
use
night.
on your
I can
own
believe it.
property.
Yep.
So,
So,
If-
so for the minutes, it probably does not appear exempt from any,
the activity does not appear to be, if within an area subject to Wetlands Protection Act jurisdiction, does not appear to meet the criteria for any exemptions.
okay.
What works better for you tomorrow, morning or afternoon?
say afternoon.
Afternoon?
Yeah,
Later afternoon works better for me, like 2 o'clock or beyond.
yeah, 2 o'clock and beyond would be better.
Okay, that's fine, let's say 2 o'clock then.
Thank you all.
So,
And you need to ask Captain Alberti?
Yeah, I'll let him know that we'll be meeting out there at 2 o'clock and I'll give him a
And
map,
this is
'cause
tomorrow
I'm not sure if he knows.
or
the
Wednesday?
sectors. Tomorrow.
you want my cell phone number so you can
Yes,
make
hold on.
changes?
We thought you'd never ask.
537-6139.
Okay.
And where are you guys meeting? Just for your own.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Design?
So there's the street.
Bernie Ave.
Bernie Avenue.
Yeah.
is right
Bernie
across.
Ave, right? And we park right on the street of Bernie Ave.
That's probably the best.
Disaster.
Yeah.
Oh no, they got dirty, Melissa.
That's
Um,
okay, it's DP's copy.
Yeah, so right on Bernie Ave, we'll park right on the street and then we'll
Yeah.
just walk across the
Okay.
street. There's that access path, right? Okay,
Yeah,
alright.
you can get to it pretty quickly.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I'll bring out our camera so I can take some pictures.
Thank you.
And then if we need to just knock on the door of the individual, do you think that they would be home or unclear?
I suspected somebody who's on the younger side,
Okay.
you know, because I don't know, common sense isn't being applied here, so I don't really understand why somebody would do that and think it was okay.
Oh, I can give you lots of examples of many age ranges where that could apply.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Thank you so
Alright.
much for
Thank
bringing
you.
that to the attention of the
Definitely. Thank you
commission.
for.
Yes,
Maybe
thank you.
Gotta do it.
Have a good
Yeah.
night.
Have a good night. See you,
See
Rick.
tomorrow. Okay, that's discussion of collaboration with Conway School of Landscape Design regarding trail design / building projects.
Yes,
Yes, this is promising. Is it?
proactive instead of reactive. Love it. So the Conway School contacted me, they were looking for winter term projects. And so this is a semester where they do team projects and they're looking for projects that are of a much bigger scale. Their first semester is residential design, so they're focusing on smaller sites during their first term. Their second term, they're looking to expand. So this would, so we had some conversations and I said, well, you know, we're talking about trails in this area, we've been talking about the orchard. And what I feel like we need is sort of a bigger regional trails system for this area and connecting to Northampton and how that would all play out. So that could give the commission and the city some better guidance in terms of locating trails in this area. So they went back and based on this discussion, they came up with a proposal that I sent to you. So they would, so just to give you a sense, this is a map, just a quick map that I did that shows the area that they're looking at. It's about 500 acres in total. So it's both of the Eckerdale parcels, including the city orchard, the town farm, which has an APR plus an affordable housing restriction, plus a historic preservation restriction on it. Park Hill Orchard, which owns this parcel and this parcel, and then Micah, which goes up into the Northampton area.
Micah,
MICKA.
Yep,
thank you.
or is it Micah?
Micah.
Micah,
That's fine.
Micah, okay. And then here, I just sort of highlighted Lathrop, which has an outstanding conservation restriction that should have been filed with the city when they did their development proposal. And their density was developed with an understanding that they had a substantial acreage of this parcel that was to be put into a CR. That CR was never finalized and legalized, and I've been working with them to do that. So again, it's looking at that connection as well and how that might connect up here into the Northampton area. So this is a pretty substantial area. And what I think makes it interesting from a planning perspective, if I was a student looking at this, is the different types of ownership. We've got city properties, we've got privately owned APR properties, and how do you sort of work within all those different jurisdictions in creating sort of a regional connector and connecting into where the population centers are so that somebody can just literally walk out their back door and get into a substantial trail network. So they would be,
Pass this around.
Yep. They'd be doing an inventory of the parcels and understanding the different types of ownership, and I've got most of the deeds already printed that they can look at. Evaluating the site conditions of these parcels, so they'd be looking at wetlands, legal protections, ownership, easement conditions, the accessibility of one parcel to its adjacent parcel in light of developing trails, identifying all the environmental constraints such as wetlands, designing a broad scope trails network, developing design guidelines for the trails in various environments, including wetlands and waterways, analyze and assess the existing regional connections between the conserved lands within East Hampton and our neighbors, explore access to and connections between the larger community resources and connecting into Art in the Orchard and community gardens and other networks. And then they also said they would, a small piece of it is study the viability of the city-owned orchard in order to determine the potential trail locations in the site. So they wouldn't take that trail orchard as a complete project, but they would definitely be assessing some level of it and how it would connect into a trail system, whether that means some of those trees would need to be taken out, dealing with the wetlands that we've already sort of preliminary identified up there. And so the cost of this so we would have 2 to 3 students that'd be working on this through the fall semester. The project would be starting in January and would complete in April. The total cost of the project is $6,500. Now, the city of East Hampton has an agreement with Conway School because they've located their urban campus here, that we're able to sort of negotiate and have sort of reduced costs for projects because we have projects that are in the city where the student population is. So what we discussed is that that the commission has, you have an open space account, you've got 2 accounts, one that's to be used primarily only on Eckodale projects, and then there's another account that can be used for any open space project. The total combined dollar amount in those 2 accounts is around $30,000. So I think this is a kind of a drop in the bucket to get the amount of work that you would get out of this project from the Conway School for $2,200. Pick up a third of the cost of the $6,500, and it seems to me to be a good use of the conservation monies, which have only been spent on the community garden at this point. The commission has never spent money out of this account.
So only a third of it would come from the commission?
That's it, and Conway would pick up the rest.
I'm fully supportive of this.
They've got fundraising efforts. They have a fundraiser that's looking for a specific project in East Hampton to contribute to. So I've gone through 2 Conway projects with them so far since they opened the school in East Hampton. The first one was the watershed study that was for Lower Mill Pond that they did last year, and I thought they did an excellent job on that project. I worked individually with a student this past semester on developing a concept plan for the open space behind the Parsons School. And she did an excellent job too. I think they have a really good, strong program, and the products that they put out are very professional. There would also be 2 public sessions as part of this, which I think would be great to have 2 facilitated public meetings to discuss sort of a sub-regional trails network in the area.
Okay.
So that's my pitch.
So what's our next step?
So the next step is I basically just need your okay. This is your account and your funds, and I don't want to just spend your money without asking you first. So I'm getting your blessing first, and then I'll go to the mayor and ask for her blessing, and then once if she approves it, then they'll start work in January.
Do we need to dictate how much from each account, or just 50-50?
I don't know. I mean, that's sort of, I'm not sure what makes sense. We could do half and half. We could just pull it out of one of them.
Piece of that.
I mean, I was just wondering, like, maybe if land-wise, using percentages that way, what percentage is Eckodale versus what percentage is other?
There's no income to either of those, is there?
Unless
from-
there's a
from
specific
any-
donation.
Well,
There's no
to Echo-
revenue that's coming in.
Right, I guess.
No,
that
it was
is-
part of a fundraising effort
Yeah.
from TPL. So that's the Eckodale portion anyway. That was part of the Trust for Public Lands big fundraising effort when the property
Yeah.
was purchased. Stuart, I checked with Stuart. He doesn't know where those other
I
sources
mean,
of
Echodale's
funds
about
came
half
from.
of this
So,
all. the
I
whole
say half and
property.
half. I don't want to
Yeah.
make it
What,
more
do we wanna
complicated.
so would someone like to make a motion to authorize the expenditure of $2,200, 50% from each fund for
So
the
moved.
Okay, not for that's $20,000.
Second.
2,200.
2,200.
I did write
Someone get that
2200.
man a Snickers.
To be withdrawn from the
Conservation and open space accounts.
conservation open space accounts 50/50
To fund.
from which accounts?
So you have the Eckodale West and East account. And then
And the
there's
general-
the
the general
Commission
conservation.
Open Space Projects and
General
the amount of money in
Commission
each
Open
account
Space
as of
Projects.
last month.
So would anyone care to make such a motion, since I can't? Okay.
Ashley made it
Can
on,
I do
I
this
seconded
since
it
I
already.
started?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So
It
moved.
was seconded too, I just seconded it.
Would it be helpful if certain wetland scientists on the commission finish their delineation of the orchard area?
Oh, jeez.
I'll just put
I mean,
lots
they
of,
might-
I'll put my paying projects on the back burner.
Oh, never mind. Never mind.
Bad idea. Okay, awesome.
Alright.
Super.
Grab that.
Motion to-
That's a possibility.
What's that?
But I'm just gonna get out.
Okay, we'll work on that.
And we had talked about applying for a CPA grant for this project, but it seems like once we have a proposal, we
Which
can
is a
figure out
plan.
what.
It would be, actually, this
This
is
would be
a
really
great
great to have a
step
plan,
toward
yeah.
that
Implementation.
CPA.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. Awesome.
And there's
Thank
also
you.
trails grants that are out there too, so, you know, once we get the plan in place, we could potentially apply for trails grants and then ask the CPA as leverage to that.
CPA likes to have grants
So.
associated with things, so that's good.
Awesome. Okay. 14 Pomeroy Meadow Road. I drafted a letter, just reviewed it. We're gonna send it.
Yeah, the stuff is still there, right?
Yeah.
So it's just stockpiling the materials and that's it?
Yes.
So if they come into my office, the request is then to schedule a site visit with a commissioner to go
Or,
out and
or
look
to
at
come
it?
to, yeah,
Or to come to a
or to come
meeting?
to a meeting, one or
Okay.
the other,
Okay.
depending on the timing.
Okay.
So the letter's here for Jess to send out as certified if we could, and then before you send it, if you could just scan it for me.
Yep.
Okay. Discuss of draft local wetlands protection ordinance working group schedule. We should have a schedule.
Well, we have one, right? That says the goal of January 25th for a draft ordinance reviewed by the commission.
Okay, great, done. January 25th. 2016. Draft 2016 schedule. Did I actually ever send this to anybody?
You did.
I did, okay. So there are two dates that were highlighted for legal ad publication. They're just adjusted to account for holidays.
Just making noises.
Okay.
Don't mean anything in particular.
That was the twitching. Okay, so if we're okay with this, I'll finalize it and send to Jess to post. Oh, that was not bad,
That was good.
actually. That was pretty good.
Paper airplanes
So-
fly worse than that often.
And we don't have any
Especially
Monday
mine.
holidays that are interfering here.
I don't believe we do, but if I have, here, actually,
There's a
here,
meeting on the day
holidays are
after
in red.
Christmas.
What?
There's a meeting on the day after Christmas.
Doesn't mean we have to do it. It's
I'm
a
Jewish, so
regularly
I'm there.
scheduled meeting. Great. By that point, I would probably be more than ready to join you.
Yay.
I would like my calendar.
To join her being Jewish or to?
Yeah, I was trying to say that out loud.
Just escaping.
Actually, I was
Just
actually thinking before I spoke there.
Yeah.
I missed that joke.
The holiday, the state and federal holidays are in red. No, I didn't, I just printed it.
Oh, okay.
There are lots of free printables.
There's a problem.
Where?
There's no such thing as May 35th.
March,
Problem?
that's February.
In February.
That's
That is
the
good,
problem.
yeah.
What is wrong? Why are we having
This one
meetings
goes,
on
for some reason,
Sunday?
this one goes vertical.
Yay. Sounds good. So moved.
How about November 31st of every
What
year?
about October
We
10th?
all get together.
October 10th is Columbus Day. It's in red.
Is there a meeting there?
Yeah.
Okay, let's adjust. Sorry about that. That's why I want other eyes looking at it.
17.
Best deal day.
Sadly, nobody but me wants to celebrate Bastille Day.
I thought it was July 14th.
It is July 14th.
It is July.
We're safe. We can still celebrate.
It doesn't conflict. So October 10th is Columbus Day.
So
Do we want to have, when's the previous September meeting? Is it?
26th.
It is the
It is
26th.
the 26th, yeah.
So I guess the question is, where do we want to have the back-to-back meetings? October 3rd or October 17th?
Seems like 17th gives
17
more
make
space.
more sense.
Okay.
So we'll do 17/24.
Yep. Awesome. Can you mark that?
Yep.
And then, so for the 17th, make a note that the legal ad date is,
The third? No,
no, the 7th, because of the holiday.
What's October 7th?
Yep. And the submittal deadline is the September 26th.
Still.
3rd.
September 23rd?
No, I'm sorry, October 3rd. Sorry, my brain.
October 3rd is the,
Submittal deadline.
Oh, got
yeah,
it.
and the,
Jeez.
right, and the advertising deadline is
The 7th.
7th.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then the following meeting the submittal deadline is October 10th, but that's the holiday.
So it would be, it could be the 11th. Okay. Any other, you're only in October, are there any others?
No, I think we're good.
Check Patriots Day.
Oh, what is Patriots
So
Day?
it's not in red on here.
April
18th it must be. That's the
Something like
3rd,
that.
so we're fine, because we're 2nd and 4th.
Okay.
Just trying to think of the Monday holidays. Patriots Day, Columbus Day,
President's Day.
Is that really still a holiday?
President's
In
Day.
Patriots Day?
In Massachusetts.
We like our Patriots.
Marathon Monday.
Oh.
There's the 2 sheets. Got you. All right, so I'll make these edits and then I'll send it to Jeff's.
It's good work. I do contribute, you're right.
We would all be showing up here on Columbus Day.
Laying in.
After a day of work, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Great. And meeting minutes approval, what have we got for?
We had a discussion about removing boat docks in the pond.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So what did we-
Address, go ahead. That's 2 of us pointing at you.
So I accused Jessica of, violating their order of conditions.
And you caught me in a bad day, so I was a little snarky back.
Jessica accused me of forgetting that we took that requirement out.
It was part of the,
But it was in the file, when we looked at the file, it was in there, that's why.
Could you find the file?
We could find that,
no.
and we found that one that night.
So are they staying in year round? What's the plan?
Yes, they are
They
staying
can
in
stay
year
in
round.
year-round, okay.
Oh.
Oh, that's cool.
The commission approved, there was a change, when we did the certificate of compliance, part of the letter requested that there would be a change to the order of conditions,
Okay.
stating that they would be in year-round. The schedule was self-imposed by us, the applicant, based on what our consultant was telling us. But when we were doing the design work and we were actually in the implementation stage, those things are too darn heavy and it would
Okay.
take too much to take them out. And cost the city a lot of money to remove them, like thousands of dollars to take them out and
Per
put them
year.
in because they're so heavy. We would need to rent cranes and stuff.
And there's no risk of ice.
No, there's no risk to damage. John Mason went and he looked at other installations and they leave them in year round. They're really hardy, they'll be fine.
Okay, cool.
So,
Okay.
as long as there was no implications to the jurisdictional side, you guys approved it.
So I'm gonna say that the floating docks are
You
not.
already
marked.
discussed it and you
Yeah.
already approved
I
it,
still
so.
have no
For
recollection of
the-
it at all,
for
but
the
I
commission's
just-
certificate of
I'm
compliance.
just losing it.
Right,
Yes.
yeah. Commission's direction is part of this.
Yes. Okay, do we want to start approving meeting minutes?
We do. The 26th have already been
Oh,
approved at the
excellent.
last meeting.
Sorry about that.
So we'll start at November 9th.
November 9th, right here.
In the nick of time.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from November 9th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. And do we have 23rd?
Yep, 23rds are here somewhere as well.
Where's this at?
Deep under the
I
pile.
don't know yet. I'm getting the pile somewhere. There they are.
Nope.
Yeah.
My grandpa.
23rd for anybody. Wants to read me those.
Seems so long ago.
Oof.
Don't you think?
It really does.
It seems like I haven't seen you all.
That is how bad I am at writing minutes.
No, she's talking about the 23rd.
Oh, the 23rd
Yes.
seems so long ago. Oh, well, that's a different problem.
Is there a motion to approve the November 23rd, 2015 minutes?
I move to approve the November 23rd meeting minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay. Correspondence, is there anything significant in the correspondence that you know of, Jess?
I can't remember. There's an envelope of some sort in there. I can't remember.
I
what
have
it is,
checks
so-
here for you, by the way,
Oh,
from the Williston filing.
great.
FYI.
I have a question for you. What's the deal with the no trespassing signs on Chapin now? You know where the
Where the trail
entrance to,
connects?
yeah.
Well, there was always a parking issue up there, like the cul-de-sac area.
Right.
So there were no parking signs that were installed probably 3 years ago because there was so much.
But now someone has nailed no trespassing signs up to trees.
It is private, it's privately owned, it's not connected to the trail network, it's been kind of like a
We received the 2016
created trail to
YOP
connect
from
to the
Eversource.
bigger network, so it's
She's
becoming a more
YOP stands for
popular.
Yearly
trail.
At the
operational
top of some of them, they
Y'all.
say, this is not a dog park. So,
Someone's mad. How big is that, is the trailhead?
I don't know, we'd have to look at a map
Yeah,
in
that-
more detail, but
just parking behind the signs.
Jessica, do you have any interest in an urban tree planting workshop from PVPC?
I would love to, but I don't have time.
Anyone?
Yeah, I was
Bueller?
like,
Bueller?
But you're still walking.
Okay, I can do this after.
Yeah.
I don't always plant trees in
Yeah, I mean, you notice there's no.
Under power line, do not
Yeah,
plant
right.
trees in urban
Yeah, to where
areas
it
under
crosses.
power lines.
And then, like, there's a, you go up, you go back
does
behind the
anyone wanna
fields,
read
and
the,
then it cuts up, and then it like sort of flattens out, and there's
brewery
like an
stuff?
at-grade trail.
Yeah.
Once
There
you
you go.
pass that at-grade trail.
Sounds
then
like
you
brewery.
start
Budget
seeing
stuff.
phases.
Yep.
So-
I
What
know
is the
exactly
brewery
where the
stuff?
places start.
Yeah.
Heritage surveys.
So I feel like that
The
whole
brewery.
thing up until you get to where.
Is this another
It's the
brewery?
same.
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't know if there's new landowners that property that.
1776 brewing?
Or whether
This
it's
is
just gotten
another
to the point
brewery?
where it's just
No, I
too
think that's the
much.
name of the
Fort
Fort
Hill.
Hill one.
And I know the people who live at the
Yeah.
ends don't like to
So
go
this
parking
is
right by their
We're
houses.
turning around.
Wait, is this the fire?
This looks like meeting minutes. Is it? What is it?
I don't know. This is a
Decision of the East End Planning Board.
approved with
Okay.
condition, decision
Alright, that's
approved
fine.
about 112 Cottage Street.
These aren't our. These aren't.
These are
ready
just
yet.
our copies.
Yeah, but these aren't necessarily in our
That was-
jurisdiction, right?
No.
No, but we're required by law to provide copies of all decisions to multiple boards,
Well, that's interesting.
conservation being one of them.
Thank you.
Thanks.
General ledger?
So, what are we gonna do about Chris?
We're gonna
Chain him to the chair?
chain him to the chair.
Bring your food and water.
We gotta record all his witticisms for the next
Totally
couple
bring
weeks.
Well, why a goat?
Complain.
Buy me a goat.
Your own.
Buy me a
Your
goat.
own
I
personal
wanted a
goat.
goat.
Jay delivers.
Oh,
That's the best.
okay,
Why does he want to go?
My parents bought me a goat for Christmas, but they didn't buy me a goat. They bought some family in Africa a goat.
You want to
So
do
now
it
they get
yourself?
to eat.
Pepper project?
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they're
Something
gonna
like that.
milk the goat,
Not
Not
milk the
eat
goat,
it.
not eat
Oh,
the
they're
goat.
so good though.
Yeah, my old boss had goats, and they just like climbed on his car and smashed his windshield.
Wow.
They were a pain.
Yeah, but they eat everything. If you have raspberries and bramble, or not raspberries, but
Poison
you know.
ivy.
Yeah.
Cheese.
you could become a goat herd.
Nubian goats.
With later Okay, so.
Still recording.
So we
Definitely
have,
still
I wonder if
recording.
anybody watches this for like the entertainment.
I know.
You know?
I think
It's not like a typical boring city.
I think more like they all
We
like
should make
their
a
heads
greatest
of
hits
shame.
CD.
No way. 3 Lovefield Street, where is this?
We should definitely make a
Lovefield.
greatest hits
It's like
CD.
one of
Yeah,
those,
it's crazy.
This is
where the
Chris ripping his
appliance
pants.
to be.
Oh.
This is Chris on a low sugar moment.
Okay. Somebody get him a Snickers.
No, we're talking about like if we just to the
Do you wanna look
montage.
at that afterwards, cause I need to show you
Yeah.
I need to show you the permitting software anyways.
Yep, let's
probably.
do that.
Okay.
I can do these both after, these don't require.
Okay.
All right, is
That's it.
there, so that is a good point, that Chris is not going to be continuing with,
I'll be here for the next meeting, but that's it.
yeah.
Seriously?
So
Is
after
that
that,
coming up that
Yeah, it's the end
fast?
of
We
December.
are-
I had,
Why
it's my
don't
last
you
meeting.
up SOL, Up a
I've
Creek.
done this for like 7 years.
Has it
That's
really
all.
been that
You're a
long?
pro. What
That's
about
all.
next year? And the next year, you're so close to 10.
I wanna
Don't
do-
stop.
I want to do.
Come on, you could do it, Chris.
You
I wanna
are
do other
so
things
a
in the
coach
city.
right now.
I'm so a coach.
She
Oh, yeah,
is,
yeah.
no, she is, she's a.
God,
Have you ever been to like? Have you ever been to
Gay.
like?
All I
Fix
could think
yourself.
about was a coach handbag. When you when she said that, I'm like, I'm that gay. You're so a coach.
She's a coach. She doesn't know anything
about him.
Okay, a handbag and a goat.
We can make a goat handbag out of the goat.
Yeah, right.
After anything.
All right,
That's right.
all right.
You gotta stop.
We gotta stop. So it does raise a good point that we have been relying on the incredibly good graces and dedication of a commission member to take incredible meeting minutes, and I know, but it leads to the question of, what do other boards do?
The planning board just hired a clerk last year.
Okay.
If I can advocate for money to hire somebody, but it would have to go through the budget process, and we've been asked to cut, not add, over the past several years. And last year, we had to level fund everything, which means that pretty much everything, something got slashed everywhere. So I can advocate for it, but I can't guarantee it at this time, but
And
I
it wouldn't
think
happen in 3 weeks.
it's not gonna happen in 3 weeks, and that's gonna go through the budget process, and that wouldn't happen until July.
So in the interim, we need someone to step up. We need something to.
I can do it, I don't have a computer though.
We have one here that you can borrow.
I can find a computer if we need one.
I can do it.
Jane's like, I'll just look under the couch.
Go to the couch.
That's good.
Couch computers? Is that where you leave your computers?
They fall out of his
Coach.
pocket.
Coach.
They end up in his
Coach
pocket.
Someone say coach?
Do it.
Oh, I had one. Oh, I don't have
Who
one.
did it before
Okay,
Chris? Was
so-
it Melissa that did it before
Yeah.
Chris?
I did, yeah.
Jeepers
And it
creepers.
just, the only caveat is it makes it difficult to participate
Right.
in the discussion.
It does,
Because you're
honestly.
so,
It does.
so I guess I wondered what other boards do and why other boards, is it because they've always, is it the sort of thing it's because they've always had them?
No, these are, I just was able to get a
'Cause-
planning board clerk this past budget season,
So,
because we
How-
had been relying on staff to
Yeah.
do it, and it's difficult. I
It's-
think as a permitting board, I could advocate for it, and they would be more willing to potentially fund it, but I cannot guarantee that the budget will allow to,
I mean, we would
it's like
not be-
$500, $600
A year?
a year to hire somebody.
we
So
would,
we-
I mean,
I mean, that's
basically,
practically what
we
our
would
budget
only be
is.
looking for a clerk to take and prepare minutes,
Right.
and not.
Well, yeah, but okay.
But that's exactly what the clerk for the planning board does, and it's.
And I'm
yeah.
just saying that we're not looking for a broader scope of services at this time.
I also do a lot of maintenance of the site, of the server too. So
You
that'll have
do.
to happen. Someone has to do that.
Yeah.
Could we just like rent you back from your new board that you're gonna?
What, you're joining a new board?
All it costs is a
No, I'm
guy.
not. I would like to eventually, yeah. I'd like to join the planning board.
Have you ever been to like
But I'm not ever gonna
Ashfield
be able to
where it's
do it
like
if I
the
don't
same
have to stay
3
this board.
people on every single goddamn board? in
No,
town?
really? Are you gonna move to Ashfield?
There are several towns like that.
You could do more than one.
So I guess that
I'm
was the
just
question,
kidding, I
like,
know.
how have other boards been able to,
The ZBA, there's only a
ZBA
handful of
likes
boards, so the
this thing.
ZBA has a budget, Jamie does it. She gets paid a different salary range to take the minutes for the ZBA.
And she does the CPA
And
also.
she also does the CPA also, which she gets paid out of the CPA account to do. The planning board has a small budget of, I think it's $550 for the full year. And that pays for 2 meetings a month essentially, but we've had more meetings recently because of additional permits that we've had to deal with, so my budget's actually running faster than it needs to. And then there's the city council, which has Barbara, who gets paid separately out of a city council budget, and that's it.
licensing board? I believe they have their own.
So what you're saying is I could have been getting
You
paid
could-
for
you
these
could be
past
the-
7 years? Is that what I'm
No.
No, but you wouldn't have been able to participate, so the clerk,
Oh,
I mean, the
gotcha.
clerk really takes minutes and that's it, they
That's
do not
it. You don't
participate, they do not
participate.
ask, I mean, they do not,
Speak.
They don't.
they just
it's-
take
it's-
minutes,
Yeah.
they are not participating
It's a
in the
recording
discussion.
clerk, it's not,
Yeah,
it's
I
not a
Is it-
voice.
I mean,
Do we not have any money that we could spend on that
We
in our?
Don't
So
have
we-
any money
there
unless.
are
we have,
some-
we have $217.
What about selling all
Right.
that compost up at the community garden?
I mean, if you wanted to, I don't know what your line items are for your budget right now. We had to pay for
Postage.
fees, which was more than we anticipated.
Yeah, the membership. Yep, so that was over, and then we just have a line item for office supplies is $25 and postage, which nothing's spent, but you use that at the end of the year, right? For the
What we do is
expenses.
I basically put it into the planning department postage account that has planning board, ZBA, planning department. The cost of postage for the Conservation Commission is higher because there's more certified mail that goes out of this than any other permitting agency or permitting board. So, so the postage costs can be high. I can look to see what kind of surplus we have in postage and whether, but I would need to go and ask permission to flip money around to put it out of a direct cost into a salary. It's a different section of the budget.
And we really can't use our
I'm
Wetland Protection
thinking
Act
it's-
fees?
Yeah, it's just so ridiculous.
Can we just,
We'll ask.
somebody pause that?
No.
I'm just kidding, but.
It's worth asking if that could be considered. There's so many restrictions on how we can use the filing fees that we receive.
What,
That would-
that
It's
should be in here
basically
somewhere, right?
that it has to be, they cannot go into the general fund. They have to go into a Conservation Commission specific account.
There's like $10,000.
Yeah,
And they
10,500.
can only be used to administer the Wetlands Protection Act.
And so,
It would be a question for the auditor on whether that, hiring
I
a
agree.
recording clerk that's doing more than just taking minutes on WPA applications and general business and other stuff. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a question.
It's a question, and I feel like the auditor may have some insight, but I also feel like that's a DEP question. Because it's very specific to the wetlands.
Well, if you wanna pose your question to your contacts at
Yeah.
DEP, and I can check with the auditor and see.
Yeah. That would probably be the next step.
do we have to pose it to Western region, or can we pose it to a different region?
That's a good point. Yeah, might call Boston.
Yeah, call Boston.
But just because DEP says one thing doesn't necessarily mean that the auditors will clear it either. I mean,
Right.
they're protecting the
Who has
city
the
and they
final word,
wanna.
the auditors?
I would say so. Well, I would say,
Yeah, I
it could be a
think-
combination of the two. I mean, we're the ones who are getting audited. We get findings if there's ever a misappropriation of funds. It
Yep.
comes down on the city, not on DEP, quite
Right.
frankly.
Yep.
Right.
So-
That's fair.
Yep,
Yeah, I would think DEP is just advising of their
Correct.
interpretations in that case.
correct.
So it would ultimately come down to the auditors.
Okay. Speaking of, let me give you,
So is there a resolution here for the minutes? Just, we're gonna have to find a new clerk?
I think there's just additional questioning that needs to happen.
Okay.
But
Right,
is it,
So
is
it'll
it,
only be a couple
Why is-
$100, I would think, for the rest of the year.
why is there a check for $100 here?
Is there
Permit, oh, this is the
stormwater?
stormwater. They filed for a permit waiver. That's you.
figure it out.
And this is the, okay, so
But they need to go into two separate things, because the stormwater goes into the general fund.
Okay. With that, is there any other, all right. Motion to close the hearing?
Motion.
To adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Third.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved.